Hi, everyone, and welcome to Sandra Cruz Unfiltered. My name is Sandra Cruz, and today I'm going to talk about toxic balance. What is balance? Balance is in everything. Everything is balance. When you look closely, you can see that everything you do at any given day, every thought, every action is based on the law of balance. Balance is good and evil. Balance is light and dark. Balance is fear and courage. Balance is happy and sad. That's all balance. Usually, when we think about balance, we think about how positive balance it makes us feel, like leveling out. Everything is equal, everything resonates, everything is calm, everything is peaceful. But as with everything and the law of balance, there's also toxic balance, which means balance that is so much perceived out of balance that we don't see it. Now, what is toxic balance? Toxic balance is the relationship between a people pleaser and someone who just thinks about themselves. Look at it from this perspective. One person is always giving their time, always giving their money, always helping out, but never receiving any help in return, even when they ask, when they have the courage to ask. And now people pleasers usually don't ask for help because they are that set on doing everything by themselves, which in itself is a trauma response. But that's a different subject. The toxic balance here is one person is always giving and the other person is always taking. And the person who is always taking is not seeing that this is completely out of balance because if they receive, they should also give. That's a law of balance. So people pleasing is toxic balance. Look at a narcissistic relationship. That is toxic balance. It is a balance between the person who's abusive and the other person who's trying to fix the person who's abusive because they believe they can, because they see only the good in them. Toxic balance. That's classic. What else is toxic balance? Think about your life. What would you possibly see as toxic balance? Think about clutter. Clutter is toxic balance. Too much of one thing, the clutter, and too little of the other, space. That's toxic balance. Addiction. Let's look at drug addiction. Toxic balance. People who have an addiction usually have deep-seated trauma. So they're trying to balance out the negative by using the drugs to cause that high and balance out what you're feeling. Toxic balance. Now, there's so many things that we're doing every day that's actually toxic balance. It may be little things. It may be procrastination because there's one thing we don't want to do, we're afraid of doing. So we're creating a reason why not to do it. So we are creating a toxic balance, the balance between something needs to be done, but we don't have the courage to do it. Toxic balance can be about our energy. Think about that. When we're out of balance with our energy, we create toxic balance. Anxiety, toxic balance. We're not grounded, so we're anxious because we're not rooted in the ground. Toxic balance. Our chakra system, our body is trying to balance out how we're feeling. Whereas if we were focusing on grounding, we would create an empowered balance. We wouldn't be anxious anymore if we're grounded. So anxiety is toxic balance. But from an energetic point of view, trauma is toxic balance. the desire to be fully healed, and the fear of looking at our trauma to start the healing process. Toxic balance. Now, I find this subject of toxic balance really interesting. If you look at your life and see what you're doing every day, and you will see which parts of your life are toxic balance. And whatever is toxic, you can shift that once you're aware of it. So you can even out the toxic balance and turn it into empowered balance. I find this very intriguing because there were a lot of things that even I was doing in my life and in my home, in my family. There was a toxic balance. I was reacting in certain ways to things that I didn't like, rather than trying to balance them out, setting strict boundaries, and move forward. It's so easy to start habits that turn into toxic balance, something that you do once or maybe twice, but it's not really in alignment with who you are or what you believe in. But you're doing it anyways to make other people happy or to keep the peace. Keeping the peace, no matter what cost, is toxic balance because you're trying to keep the peace without empowerment. So when you are realizing that in your life you create a toxic balance, how can you get out of that? Well, awareness is the first part, of course. Then look at it. Look at the whole scenario. Look at the toxicity in the balance. And once you pinpointed that, you can start by making different decisions. And with that, changing a toxic balance into empowered balance. Set strict boundaries. Say no. Don't always say yes. Only say yes if you really want to. Or if you feel that you're giving more than other people in return, point that out. Saying, okay, so, you always tell me that whenever I need something, just to let you know, and now I'm letting you know, and you know where to be seen. Yet, when I'm helping you, you're expecting that everything is done right now. Things like that. There has to be a balance between giving and taking. That's empowered balance. I do hope you enjoyed the subject of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And always remember, trauma is not a life sentence. You have the power to heal. Bye.